presentation will be about the Olympic Study Research Center session, which the representative from the different OSRC will be presenting their works. And first and foremost, I would like to call upon Mr. Yoonkyu Song, PhD candidate of Willibald Gebhardt Institut, for the presentation. So with this, I would like to take a moment to introduce our expert. Mr. Yoonkyu Song is a PhD candidate at the Willibald Gebhardt Institute at University Münster in Germany, focusing on international relations, security studies, and European geopolitics. His research seeks to deepen the understanding and contemporary political security and diplomacy. Throughout his particularly regarding transnational security and diplomacy. Throughout his academic career, Mr. Song has contributed to various scholarly articles in reputable journals addressing topics such as international conflict resolutions, peace building, and the role of European Institute in global governance. Please, sir.
Thank you for the overwhelming introduction. Today I'm going to talk about our institute, which is called Willibald Gebhardt Institute at the University of Münster in Germany. And could you share the slide on the main screen? And for your understanding, as you can see, I'm not German. I'm from South Korea. And to briefly explain myself, I was sent to the Willibald Gebhardt Institute almost 3 years ago by the Korean government in terms of national strategy for many sectors, but I was selected because it was the time after the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, and it was the time that we need further investigation and further research about the peace building in sports within the Olympic Games. And I applied for the scholarship to my government, and they permitted me to, and they appointed me to go to this specific institute in Germany because of some reasons. And I'm going to explain those reasons and the backgrounds with the history of our institute in Münster. As I explained yesterday, the Willibald Gebhardt Institute is one of only 2 IOC recognized Olympic Study and Research Center in Germany, and one of the earliest members of the Olympic Studies and Research Centers network since 2011. And the idea of establishing the Willibald Gebhardt Institute has started in 1989 to 1990, when the Berlin Wall came down and the process of German reunification has started. So we are the first and the only private, non-governmental, and non-commercial, and financially independent institute for sports science in Germany. So sometimes I envy those rich institutes and those institutes with full support from the government. But we have some reasons why we chose this strategy and why we operate in this way. So the institute was founded by Dr. Roland Naul in Essen in 1992, and he asked me to deliver his apology that he could not make it in person in India this time, and send his best regards to the friends and the colleagues here in India. So now you might be wondering who or even what this Willibald Gebhardt is. Maybe Professor Bulatova has any idea of this concept? So Dr. Willibald Gebhardt was the founder of the German Olympic movement, as well as the first IOC member from Germany from 1896, and he was also the founder of the first permanent Olympic committee for Germany. As you can see on the picture, on the left side standing is Willibald Gebhardt, and right next to him is Baron Pierre de Coubertin and his colleagues at the time. So you might be wondering again, if he was that important, why do we know nothing about him, even in Germany? And this is the reason. The name of Willibald Gebhardt was promoted from 1965 as East Germany was recognized by the IOC, and they participated in the Olympic Games in Mexico cities in 1968 as an independent, separate state from West Germany. So he was ignored by the West German society until the German reunification in 1990, and he was only promoted in eastern part of Germany as the real founder of the German Olympic movement. Meanwhile, in the western part of Germany, there was the famous sports leader and sports politician Karl Diem, and he was the founder and the first rector of the German Sports University in Köln. But in the east side of Germany, he was named fascist or Nazi by East German sports historians and East German sports policy for his commitment in the 1936 Berlin Olympic Games and his cooperation or his work for the Third Reich during the totalitarian regime in Germany. So as you can see here from the brief biography of Dr. Gebhardt, he became the first German member of the IOC in 1896, but he resigned from his membership from the IOC in 1909. There might be some reasons, but the specific reasons why he resigned from his positions at the German sports federations and then the IOC are still unclear. But according to the studies from our Vice President, Professor Dr. Michael Krieger, Willibald Gebhardt was in fact a quite strange or special person. He was in the same generation with Baron Pierre de Coubertin, but he was quite different from these noble friends of his and noble background that Coubertin had. Dr. Gebhardt was a bourgeois and a member of well-educated, new arising civil society during the German Empire. But there might be other reasons why he had to resign from his positions. It might be because of his background, it might be his personal character, or it might be because of the change of the international strategy of the Olympic Committee of the German Empire. But we assume that the most critical reason was that the different idea and different concept of the relationship between sports and Olympic idea that Willibald Gebhardt promoted was not accepted in the mainstream of this IOC society in the early years. So that might be the essential reason why we repeatedly stress and highlight the importance of Olympic education and educational value of this Olympic movement which are enshrined in our constitution of the institute. So the topic of Olympic education has become the central theme of our research topics, and with its more than 30 years, with more than 100 of publications by the WGI. So here I show you the organization of our institute. Our current president is Dr. Heinz Ascherbrook, a German sports educator and education administrator. And we also have the executive manager, Dr. Sebastian Brückner, and he is also a sports educator and as well as a sports psychologist. So we have 4 distinct different departments, which are headed by 4 different vice presidents. And there are Department of Olympic Studies and Physical Education and Health-Enhanced Physical Activities, and for the last, sports performance for elite sports. And the Department of Olympic Studies are led by Professor Dr. Michael Krüger, a well-known German gymnastics and sports historian, as well as a pedagogue. And Dr. Roland Naur is also contributing very importantly to this Department of Olympic Education. So here I show you the network that we have been maintaining and we have been building for the last 32 years. We have national and international fellows, as well as the institutional members, and we have partners such as the UNESCO and the Association of the Physical Education Teachers in European countries and ICSSPE. And we also have these partner universities from not only in Germany, but also across European countries and East Asia. But I would like to emphasize the importance and significance of this newly founded network, internal network in the OSRCs since 2024. It's called OSRC 11+. And we are happy. We are so happy that our members, including BCORE and CEROUN and University of Kiev, which Professor Maria Bulatova represents, and the University of Edinburgh, the SCORE, are all here, and we could share the idea of Olympic education here, and we could further develop our enthusiasm in Olympic education. So Willibald Gebhardt Institute doesn't have the coolest name such as BCORE of Bharat or SCORE of Scotland, but we kind of have this pride, and we have a big love on this institute as a Korean person. And I can show you the works of our institute in 3 different periods. So since the foundation of the institute, we had active cooperation with the German Olympic Institute in Berlin and National Olympic Committee of Germany, and the newly founded German Olympic Academy, which was called Willi-Daume in Frankfurt. And it was the time when Dr. Roland Naur was actively engaged in the lectures at the IOA in Olympia. And the second period is represented by the 2 most important book publications from the WGI. And the first one on the left is called Olympic Education in Schools and Clubs. It was a comprehensive textbook on the theory and practice of Olympic education, and it was commissioned and published by the German Olympic Academy, and it was used by an official textbook for the German Olympic education. And in the same year, the Olympic education in English was published by the WGI, and it was the first book on Olympic education written in English by Roland Naur. And the third period is from 2018 to now. And right after our first Japanese edition of this Olympic education textbook was published in Japan, the Willibald Gebhardt Institute was transferred back to Münster University from the Duisburg-Essen University, as Professor Roland Naur has retired from his position in Duisburg-Essen University. And since then, the focus has shifted more to the historical roots of development of Olympic studies and Olympic education in Germany, Europe, and worldwide. As you can see at the photo in the center below, that was the first German-Korean joint conference in peace, Olympics, and sports. And in the year 2020, we held the second joint congress in Münster, and this year we are planning for the third Korea and Germany joint conference on peace and Olympic Games. So now we are still organizing the annual Olympic Study Day on the official Olympic Day, the 23rd of June every year. And we also have been organizing the Olympic lecture series in Olympic years. So last year we held a colloquium which was called Olympia, and it was consisted by the 15 weeks of program and attended by numerous researchers and students from all around Europe and Asia. And we are also organizing the international conferences and naturally the publication. So this was the introduction of our institute, and it was a bit historical perspective, but as you can see here, we try to promote the values and the ideas and the concept of Dr. Willibald Gebhardt as the real founder of the German Olympic movement, and maybe that's the reason why we can be free from the sponsorship, and we can be independent from the outside conflict, and we can conduct the research as we want to. So thank you for your attention, and if you allow me, I would like to make a short comment about this, my experience of these 4 days in Ahmedabad. And as I was talking with a colleague from here on the dinner last night, and we talked about the legacy of this process of hosting and bidding of the Olympic Games. And as I mentioned yesterday, it will be not the honorable governor, or it will be not the honorable prime minister or the minister of the state who will have the benefit and who will enjoy their lives within this transformed, developed India in the next 40 years. And they will become the key figures in sports science and Olympic studies, and in Indian society. The younger students back there, they will be the most important people in the next following 40 years. That's what my professors in Korea who participated in the hosting process and the preparation process in 1980s. And they became the key figures for the next 40 years. And I am one of the students from this generation. So now I'm witnessing the marvelous change of Indian sports science, and I'm witnessing this amazing leadership of the government and the vice chancellor and the passion of the students here. So I hope all of you could enjoy and join to this Olympic movement with the Willibald Gebhardt Institute if you have any interest in this Olympic idea. Thank you so much.
To see how many people paid attention, I'm going to do a quick trivia question. When is the Olympic Day? 21 June, raise your hands. 25th June? 23rd June? Okay, good. Everyone paid attention. So now that I've got your attention, see, this was different from all the days that we had. It was OSRC, what we represent, why we are here. It's about research and conducting research that might be boring, which will perhaps bring a lot of contribution, which could never bring contribution. But what I understood from this presentation is Yoonkyu is from South Korea. He went to Germany. He's in one of the most oldest and reputed institute which is there. And he's here in India. 3 countries, 3 completely different judicial systems, cultural systems, and yet he appreciates what we had to offer here. So this is a learning lesson for all of us, and this is what one kind of an Olympic value is, and that is friendship, right? Respecting and excelling at what we do. He has showed that in one of the slides that they have international fellows from different areas. They're doing partnerships with different countries, not only from Germany, right? From all the EU countries. Of course, they have their benefit of being in an EU member state, but they still do it. Similarly, we can do in different states. I'm Gujarati, also Dutch, but we have to do something from Maharashtra. We have to do something from Rajasthan. We can't leave alone Northeast. So this is what he's trying to tell you, in other words, is bring this back home with an inspiration that you should not be in your small little comfort zone. We have people from the NSG coming, people from the armed forces, and why are they here? They come from different states to understand how they can collaborate. So Olympics is about collaboration. We had Isharati saying that things will happen big, but they have to happen in multiple cities. As we saw Lambis' presentation, they have something in Tahiti happening. They had in south of France. They had in different part of France. Why? They wanted to engage. They did not have that selfish interest. So we should leave our selfish interest behind and seek how we can do things. And that starts from being a PhD student, an academic, so we know what is a bias and what is not a bias. So again, thank you. Of course, we have this 11 plus research group, and that's why they're not primarily here. They want to see Ahmedabad. Everyone likes to see India. When they come once, they always come twice. That's what I've always observed. So thank you once again. If you have any questions and inspirational words for how to do PhD, please enlighten. We have less and less PhD students, as I see, so we still need good studies to be done. So thank you, and thank you once again. Co-joint PhDs. 2 professors, 1 student.
Since I'm also a PhD student in Willibald Gebhardt Institute, I cannot assure you, but I think there is possibility, and they will consider it positively, definitely.
That's so important to bridge the knowledge.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely.
Conferences are great, but they're far and few, and not all students have the resources to make it to all conferences unless the universities are supporting. It could be. I'm not a big fan of exchange programs, because exchange programs are like you go, park yourself elsewhere, soak a little bit, and you're back. But if it's a partnership kind of PhD where you're building from both institutions, I see a lot of benefit there.
Since we have some other exchange students in master program, so I will deliver the message to the executive board, to the institute and the Department of Sports Science at the University of Münster as a first agenda after this conference, and we will discuss it, and we will definitely discuss this matter afterwards.
Thank you, and I like your very calm demeanor. I can't be you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Can I come in? Yeah, thank you very much. I'll take 2 minutes. I took this opportunity. Basically, I'm wanted to, as you mentioned about Germany Olympics, and you were talking about 1936 and that Berlin Olympics. So I want to say two, three things about that. In the Berlin Olympics, Germany was almost about 15, 20 years into the development, and Hitler had taken in 1933. So he wanted to showcase the German Olympics or the Berlin Olympics as a kind of two things, as his powers, and secondly the Roman superiority, or Romani, you can say the Aryan superiority or the racial superiority which Germany wanted to show. So they won around 101 medals there with 34 golds, and they were the champions. But I want to say one thing, but that myth of the supremacy of a race was broken by one athlete, Jesse Owens, who won 4 golds, and he was the first black. I can use the word black here because 60% of the world is, or more than 80% is black. So he was the first black to win or break the myth that only the whites could win the race. Now the second thing happened again in the China Olympics, in Beijing Olympics, where again the myth of some countries that they are the sports leader was broken, and the China became the winner again with somewhere close to 100 medals with 44 golds. US was second with 130 medals, but lesser gold. Now what I want to say is that this is the opportunity for India. 2036 is little far. We have to showcase about 20 years of present government, and I hope the government will continue. And we also would like to break the myth of winning medals by a few countries who are very, very high in the index of the growth. And with our vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, and it is just about 10 years before we are planning for this particular Olympics. So I'm sure, apart from the infrastructure and also the management of sports, the government is going to plan from today how can we make sports nodes, how can we promote athletes, and how can we nurture the young kids to perform in next about 13 to 14 years.
Thank you for your comments. And maybe Professor Bulatova has something to add on this historical lessons. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words on that. I would like just to mention 2 historical facts. So you remember, maybe not everybody remember, because I'm remembering just from the book. In 1932, the German team in the United States got just 3 gold medals. And in 4 years, in 36, in the German Berlin Games, they won the first place, more than 100. So it means that if the nation would like to build up the system, they can do incredible things. The same happened to the Great Britain team. In 1996, they just had 1 gold medal, the Great Britain. It was a historical fact. And in 16 years, in 22, they get, I don't remember the amount, but they were in 3rd place around the world. So it's a huge amount. You can say the same with the Australian team preparing for the games to Sydney, the Russian team preparing to the games in Moscow in 1980, the Korean team preparing to Pyeongchang and Seoul. The same happened. So you have to build nice facilities, as we talk about, to have money to prepare for everything. But you have forget the situation that you have to build up the system of preparation in the country. for the Olympic Games. It's not difficult. It's not a big secret what to do. So the first, you have to find out the kind of sports in which you could be good. The second, you have to find out the system of sports selection to select the talent. And then you have to build up the system how to grow them. And that's it. 10 years, it's enough. And I hope in 2036, the Indian team will be not in the 70th place as before in Paris, but it will be, I hope, one of the 3 best countries in the world, because the population in India is huge.
Thank you for the comments. You see the spirit comes from the older generation, correct? So the younger generation, huh? Okay, 50 plus, 40 plus, double my age generation, okay? So the young ones, if you're on your phones, go on your books, rather, see what you can learn from these advices. These advices are genuine. It's not out of just spite or thinking, guys, you should do like this. No, but they're encouraging you to be in a position that 30 years down the road, you're here and you're saying, you know what we did 20 years before, we brought this here. This is the mentality you should have, and this is what our OSRCs are bringing here. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the 2 days, also Mumbai. And yes, and now we have our French delegates coming all the way from the city of, I think, wine and cheese and bread, perhaps, which they don't get anything here. So please join Mr. Charly and Madame Margaux on the stage from CEROUN University for the presentation as well.
And Ms. Margaux with us, representative from the France Olympic Study Research Center. I would like to take a moment to introduce Mr. Charly is a faculty member at the University of Rennes, specializing in the science and history of sports. His research interests encompass the evolution of sports journalism, the interplay between sports and urban spaces, and the governance of physical education. He has contributed to various academic publications. He has also co-authored works such as The Spaces of Physical Education, 1920th Century, and The Olympism and the City from the Beat to the Legacy. His academic contribution has significantly advanced the understanding of the cultural and historical aspect of sports in society. Ms. Margaux is a French professional with a diverse background in design and entrepreneurship. She has held the position of art director and lead designer at web building company in the United Kingdom, where she contributed to notable campaigns such as the 2013 Lexus campaign with CHI and partners in London, and the 2011 Bluebell SS11 campaign for Wrangler with Sting Digital in London. I would like to hand over to Mr. Charly and Ms. Margaux.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to thank Mr. Utsav Shawari, director of the BCORE, and Mr. Professor Binal Patel, and the Vice-Chancellor for their generous hospitality. Congratulations for the good organization too. We are glad to be here and to be given the opportunity to introduce you to our Olympic Studies and Research Center. It's called CEROUN and belongs to the University of Rouen, Normandy. Here is my colleague Margaux Renaudin, who is a project manager for the CEROUN. And you will also see in the video Philippe Parège, who is vice-president of our university and at the initiative of the foundation of the CEROUN. Just the slide, the first slide, please. I'm Charly Machmel. Not the video, just the first. Okay. I'm Charly. I'm the director of the CEROUN, associate professor. I supervise doctorate students. I'm an historian, specialist in sports, urban environment, And in this field, I focus my research on the skateboarding, which, as probably know, is a new Olympic discipline. The reason why we are making this presentation is to explain to you that the Olympic Games of Paris 2024 have created a new deal for academic research on Olympism in France, and in particular in our university. Once it had been decided that Paris candidature was accepted in 2017, Invest has been dedicated for the research field in France, and a large community of researchers were mobilized to provide scientific insights. I'm not saying that if you host the Olympics, money or new budgets for research and education will rain down on you. I just want to explain that you have the opportunity and perhaps the responsibility to build an ambitious and independent research strategy for the experimental and social sciences on the ground as soon as possible. We know that a research strategy needs a long term and not a few years to be effective. It needs time to structure network, to publish, and to disseminate knowledge into the social actors. That is why we thought that presenting to you our experience and activities as well could be helpful and allow you to know more about us and the way we work. We would like to continue this presentation by giving you an overview of the working environment of the University of Rouen-Normandie and at the CEROUN, as well as the specific characteristic of the region, which is why we are going to show you a short video of Philippe Farage.
Our university is located in the city of Rouen, which counts 500,000 inhabitants, situated on the Seine River, between the seaside resort on the Channel and the French capital, Paris. Our university offers an Olympic studies and research centers, which has the specificity of being a federation of our 37 research units working from human science, sport, health, to science and technologies, as well as our 12 departments of the university, potentially 2,500 staff members and 35,000 students based on 7 campuses. The aim is to bring together all the projects related to the Olympism, Paralympism, and the life and values of sport. Through our Olympic Studies and Research Center, the CEROUN, our university is fully involved in the dynamic of the Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games and is setting up a sustainable structure to ensure the continuity of its expertise beyond the event. Winter Games in 2030 as the next target.
You have noticed that our center has the name of the city of Rouen in it. There are 2 reasons of that. Firstly, it's a good way to identify it and remember its name. Secondly, it means that the researcher of the CEROUN is working not only at the scale of the university, but at the scale of the city, and in consequence, participate to the politics of sport with a large number of sport and political actors. This aspect is very important. Concretely, in the way we work, this has resulted in the creation of a scientific committee for the CEROUN, but also a pilot committee made of different actors, representatives of a bank which supports sports, professional sports leaders, sport federation leaders of high level, and leaders of the local council of the city. In France, I don't know another university which hosts this organization where societal actors could directly participate to scientific politics. At the national scale, we have linked with major French actors too, the French National Olympic Academy, French National Olympic Committee, French Olympic Studies Center of the French National Olympic Academy, Ministry of Sport and the Olympics and Paralympic Games, the Ministry of Higher Education. Presentation. Next. As the CEROUN was created in autumn 2023 as a researcher federation of the university, which means that all the research departments and their researchers are involved and belong to it. Olympism offers the opportunity to deal with a lot of societal concerns, and for many, a large many years, a large number of researchers at the University of Rouen Normandy have been working on studies related to Olympism, Paralympism, and the values they convey. The creation of the CEROUN provided a framework to catalyze new projects and mobilize new actors at the scale of the university. The goal was to create a multidisciplinary structure involving the 37th research unit and laboratory of a university, and that enables to support cross-disciplinary research and teaching projects on a variety of themes, such as inclusion, competition events, socio-ecological transition, materials, health, sports, ethics, history and legacy, urban in Thailand, risks in urban environments. Now that you have a closer look at our working environment, we are going to give you a more detailed presentation of the CEROUN and our missions and activities. The CEROUN operates along three main strategic lines, as you can see on the presentation. The first one, research, aims to bring together researchers, organize scientific events, build multidisciplinary projects, promote high-level international publication, organize doctoral research visits to Olympic institutions, and promote research grant programs for researchers and doctoral students. The second one, educational training, intends to create courses linked to Olympism and Paralympism, as well as to Olympic and sports movement, provide financial support for thesis projects, encourage students' mobility between OSRCs, and create a new mobility agreement between institutions to enable students and teachers to discover different professional sports models. As for the last, societal responsibility, it plans to offer training and support to civil society, businesses, and decision makers to encourage collaboration with the socio-economic, sporting, and cultural worlds, and to establish partnership with other USRs around sustainable transitions and Olympisms.
So I will take the floor for the third part. Now that we set the context, let's take a closer look at our activities. We are going to give you some examples of the research and training projects on which we are working and collaborating. So in terms of research projects, the CEROUN supports, for example, the Neptune project, a winning research project in the very high performance sport call for projects led by a laboratory of the URN, which is called the CETAPS. The aim of this project, implemented for the last Olympic Games, was to support coaches and swimmers in maximizing the French swimming and paraswimming team chances of winning a medal. With a budget of $1.6 million, it has enabled innovative methods and tools to be put into place to assess the details of swimmer performances. So this project team worked alongside Alexis Anquincan, that you can see on the presentation. He's a para triathlete and won a gold medal during the last Olympic Games. Basically, researchers of our university have had the opportunity to work with a swimmer at a very high level. And that was a real opportunity because that's essential to publish at a high international level. Then several conferences and congresses were also held in 2024 at the University of Rouen and supported by our center, such as the Sport and Masculinities event, but also the Olympics of Law. These events, hosted at the university, enable researchers to get together and collaborate on a local, national, and international scale. This may lead them in the future to consider collaborating on publication and on high-level researches as well, and to make projects together. For your information, the CEROUN would be really delighted to be able to create synergies and take its work to the international level by setting up collaboration with foreign researchers on this subject or on others. So finally, the CEROUN and the French Ice Hockey Federation are preparing to formalize a strategic partnership through the signing of an agreement. The aim of this collaboration is to mobilize scientific research to maximize performance by identifying and understanding the essential criteria to be taken into account when selecting a Paralympic goalkeeper for the French team. The aim of this innovative project is to combine sporting performance and scientific research to guarantee strategic choices in terms of selection, adapted to the specific characteristic of para hockey, and also to enable an effective response to the demands of the sport. A second field, which is also really important for this collaboration, concerns the environmental matters in ice hockey because of the cost of the installations and the carbon emissions they cause. We are currently studying different economic models in order to understand how to make ice sport more sustainable. If we switch to the educational training part now, the CEROUN undertakes several different actions. Firstly, the CEROUN supports on a financial level 4 thesis projects. You can see the subject on the presentation. This decision is part of a process to enhance and deepen knowledge about Olympism, Olympic Games as event, and more globally sporting disciplines, particularly following the significant impact of the last edition of the Olympic Games. By supporting these academic projects, the CEROUN aims to promote a broader understanding of the historical, cultural, social, and economic issues surrounding the Olympics. Then, in terms of mobility, students have already been sent on study trips to cities such as Olympia in Greece, which is the birthplace of the Olympic Games. We also intend to develop new partnerships for student mobility programs that would enable students to spend a semester or a year abroad and to enrich their knowledge and discover different sports contexts. The next short-term project we are currently working on is the Olympic and Paralympic Week that we call the SOP in French. This event, which provides a link with the wider public and the sporting and cultural socio-economic world, consists of organizing a series of conferences, discussions, and sport workshops over a whole week. So several dozens of local and national experts come to share and present their knowledge on specific subjects. Across the university, a large number of laboratories and departments are involved in ensuring the success of this event. For this 2025 edition, the main theme of the week is the pleasure of sport, which is tackled through sessions on a variety of contemporary subjects, such as sport and health, the inclusion of people with disabilities through sport, the links between culture and sport, the economy of sport, and sport in the context of ecological transition, and also swimming in the Seine River. It's a national event that we've been running for 3 years now, and in the future, we'd really like to open it up to international doctoral students and researchers.
As a conclusion, as you must have understood from this presentation, also our Olympic Studies and Research Center, CEROUN, is still young. We are already involved in a number of innovative projects and initiatives relating to Olympism and Paralympism, both in terms of research and training. This involvement illustrates our determination to play a key role in research Olympism and Paralympism while helping to meet the societal and educational challenges associated with these themes. We firmly believe that these projects, which have great meaning and impact, take on their full potential when they are part of a collaborative and multidisciplinary approach. So whether you're a researcher, student, sport leader, we'd love to hear about your work and your ideas. Feel free to come and chat with us at the end of this session or connect to our LinkedIn network to follow our projects and find out how we can work together. Thank you for your attention. Thank you to the BCORE team as well for allowing us to present our center, and we look forward to share our ideas and thoughts with you.
Floor is open for the question and answer.
Hi. Check. Can you hear me? Yeah. So typically, what would be the duration of any of the projects that are there? What could be the duration of any of the projects that are mentioned?
It's okay? Okay. You were asking the duration of which project?
There were multiple projects mentioned. If you could give an example of any of the projects, any of them maybe, that would work.
Each project have his the project Neptune, for example, had a duration of 4 years, and it was a real matter for the director of this project, because it's a very quick time. It's a time decided by the politics, not by the researcher. And in my opinion, you have maybe the opportunity to use another calendar and to have another planning better for the research and to structure program.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Hi, can you hear me? I've been seeing that you are indulging with the para athletes. I'm in India indulging with the para athletes since 2018. My question is to you, like, what are the difficulties that you have faced during the research process with the para athletes? Especially with the swimmers. Like, I am also a swimmer. I am indulging with the canoeing and kayaking from last 1 year. So I'm intrigued to know that what are the difficulties that you faced during your research?
For researcher, it's not a real difficulty. It's a very tough field to new experimentation and a paradigm to have new things and new idea. And it's not a matter, but it's very enthusiastic, and there is maybe more helpful with this type of athletes in terms of disponibility, and they give time and you use the possibility to work with the researcher easily than other athletes, in my opinion.
Bonjour Charly, bonjour Margaux, je m'appelle Abhijay, and so my question is regarding, like, you are already working with a Federation Institute. So India, as it is hoping to host a potential Olympic event, so I would like to know, as an institute, BCORE has emerged as this focal point for addressing Olympic related queries, research, whatever things are related to that. So what are the fundamental things that we need to keep into consideration so that BCORE in coming times can emerge as a leader or point of contact within the whole global south? So what are your suggestions from your insights and your experiences with your own institute? Thank you.
So, my opinion, fundamental aspect is to anticipate the subject where which you can have a specialty and to have a strategy, a research strategic now and not in the future. Not waiting for the sport calendar. I think it's a good time to have a new collaboration maybe and to identify specific topics, to collaborate and maybe to identify good subjects and where the relationships are possible because there is maybe a difficulty with the distance between the structures, and there is a big opportunity to publish at high level because the subject have a great impact on the concerned grant community of researchers. I'm thinking it's interesting for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Hi, Charlie. Hi, Margaux. Thank you so much for coming all the way from France. And we know that it was a last-minute haywire, but congratulations that you are here, and we are very thankful to you. I just have a very small question. Recently, you are well experienced that Paris hosted the games, and you being in the heart of the city or maybe in the country, what exactly did OSRC? Because you being an elder sibling of BCORE, I would say. So what exactly did our centers played the role in terms of having Olympics in the country or maybe around?
I didn't explain in the presentation, but in France there is another event with Winter Games in 2030. The aim is to continue on this dynamic first. Then this is a label, an interface to work with a lot of sport organization, maybe a local organization which have not real link with Olympism, but which would like to work with you because Olympism is label and meant to a way to present you and to contact a lot of actors. And there is maybe, as you know, there is a lot of difficulty to explain what is the research, what the research can give to the sport society, but what it can't allow to. It's very important to explain the limit of the research and that we cannot do the work for the organization and participate to political debate, for example. The CEROUN is very important to connect with the community of social society and the sport federation, for example.
Thank you so much. But we look forward to have a lot of collaborations with CEROUN.
Thank you, Mr. Charly and Ms. Margaux. Now, we would like to take a time for the felicitation. So I would like to request Mr. Song to join the stage. So to felicitate, I would like to request Dr. Utsav Chaure, Director BCORE, to do the honor. Prachi Madam, Assistant Professor, SBSFI. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now we will proceed to the paper presentation. For this, I would like to hand over to the Miss Anupama.
Welcome back, everyone. And we are here at the final session of day 2. My name is Anupama, and I will be moderating this session. Day 1 was filled with wonderful sessions where we explored groundbreaking research, engaged in thought-provoking discussions, and gained valuable insights into the Olympic movement. Building on this momentum, today's session promised to be equally enriching. Without a further ado, let me take this opportunity to invite our speaker, Dr. G.B. Shetty, National Classifier Para Athletics, Incharge Sports Science, Sports Authority of India, Gandhinagar, presenting a crucial study on musculoskeletal testing for para athletics. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Shetty.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. This is the last session for me, and the presentation actually is very elaborative, but still I would like to complete it as soon as possible. My topic is on classification consideration in developing musculoskeletal testing protocols for para sports athletes. I work with Sports Authority of India, Gandhinagar. This is the biggest center in para sports training situated in Gandhinagar. So we have a great team of sports science. What hurdle we face in testing of these para athletes was because of their disability. Many of the scientists and even the coaches, they were not knowing exactly what test should be done depending on the impairment or disability they have. So with the experience and expertise and being the classifier myself, we developed a testing protocol that is getting effective in SAI centers. Coming to the topic, as you know, the injuries can happen equally with para athletes, and it can be more severe than able athletes. So in a study by Ferreira, para athletes report a high incidence of sports injuries compared with able-bodied athletes, and injury may be even more concerning in para athletes due to their existing impairment. Lower extremity injuries are more common among ambulant para athletes. whereas upper extremity injuries are more frequent in non-ambulant athletes. Upper extremity was the most frequently injured, followed by lower extremity, head and spine in a study on injuries to elite wheelchair athletes. So these are some studies where you can see, you can observe that lot many injuries are happening with para athletes and very specific injuries pertaining to their wheelchair use and the affected body part use. Para athletes also have specific risk factors. Para athletes also have specific risk factors for injury incidence because of their impairment and adaptive equipment use. Despite this, there are few prevention programs that is running in para sports, and many of the existing prevention programs are not adapted to para athletes. Mostly they are followed the able athlete programs. There is no specific prevention program for para athletes as per the literature. We will go into that. Examinations of sports injury risk, including intrinsic risk factors, should use existing evidence-based practice to identify valid and appropriate tests examining known risk factors. There are additional risk factors in para sports related to impairments caused by disabilities. Therefore, the identification of risk factors through physical examination should be tailored to the specific impairments present in the athlete. Impairment is the unit of classification. Impairment should result from a recognized health condition and it should be permanent in nature. Those athletes who are selected and trained in Paralympics, they are well classified by the trained classifier recognized by IPC, International Paralympic Committee, and they consider all the impairments, and those impairments which are eligible by the IPC rule, they are only considered. So we'll go into that in detail. So there are 10 eligible impairments as per IPC classification rules and regulation 2017. First one is impaired muscle power, then impaired passive joint range of motion, limb deficiency or amputation or limb loss, leg length discrepancy, hypertonia, ataxia, athetosis, short stature, visual and intellectual impairments. The impairment level, severity and type is determined by the sports classes assigned. Testing the impairment and activity limitation it produces shall help develop the pre-participation examination or musculoskeletal examination of para athletes. Hence, there is a need to evaluate the athlete MSK condition on the basis of impairment-specific tests. As you can see in the picture, there are many Paralympic games, but all the Paralympic games, they cover these 10 impairments, 10 eligible impairments only. Apart from this 10 impairment or disability, there are no other disabilities that are accommodated by IPC. So, in my study, I have taken only the physical impairment side. I have excluded the visual and intellectual impairment testing. So, in physical impairment category, as I said, there are eight physical impairment categories like impaired muscle power, impaired joint range of motion, and all the other neuro conditions. So what I did, the impairment specific MSK testing protocol I have developed, and I tested the posture, joint range of motion, muscle tone or the spasticity grading, strength of the muscle, flexibility, coordination, balance, trunk control and functional tests. What was my objective of the study? It is to develop a MSK assessment protocol for para sports athletes on the basis of their sports category, classification and impairment. To develop a MSK assessment protocol that addresses all para sports disciplines and all kinds and severity of disability or impairment present in para athletes. As I said in the previous slide, all the para sports that are recognized by IPC covers these 10 impairments only. So to develop MSK test protocol that is practical and measurable, I have not taken any very high-end equipments for the testing. That may be available, but in large, when you test large number of athletes, it should be practical and easy to arrange any test protocol. So to develop MSK test protocol that is practical and measurable with easily available equipment or testing kit. And another aim was the testing protocol shall be implementable for injury prevention in particular para sports athlete with specific events. It is the injury prevention program should be event specific. Suppose a thrower or a jumper, both are different, and the prevention program should specific to the impairment or specific to the event. Then lastly, to provide inputs from the MSK test results to other sports scientists in the discipline to enable them develop test protocols based on the impairment type, severity, activity limitation in any para athlete. So this is the baseline study protocol that I wanted to develop. This is for the first time. I think this is for the first time as per the literature study. A protocol has been devised. So we'll go into the detail why it is for the first time, because I searched all the research paper that is available in net, and through PubMed up to the Mendelin searches, Google Scholar, all the sites that are mentioned, I didn't find any result with respect to the keyword or my subject of the project. Like a classification-based musculoskeletal assessment of para sports athletes, these are the keywords that are always used, but I didn't find any good result pertaining to the study. But I find 3 related studies related to injury and 4 studies related to Paralympic sports medical care and prevention. Those were there, but not pertinent to the MSK test that I have taken up. So my first method was, procedure was to see the literature search, and the second method was to do the testing on my own athletes in my center. There were around 220 para athletes are there. So we took 100 athletes, 100 para athletes of different disciplines, and we tested and retested the method that I have designed in the first week of December 2024. And after 1 week, we retested the same procedure. So what was the criteria for selection of the subjects? The athletes were belonging to para athletics, swimming, table tennis, badminton, fencing, and powerlifting. 70 male and 30 female para athletes were considered from the age group of 15 to 38 years of age. Those para athletes who were classified by the researcher, that is myself. Myself is a classifier, so I have classified all the athletes before they were taken for the test, and athletes had given their consent for the test. Athletes with a history of injury or recent surgery or any medical condition were excluded. So this was the demography or the subject details, the athlete distribution in my study, where the 100 athletes were considered. So most of the athletes were belonging to para athletics, and most of the athletes were having upper limb problems and lower limb problems, and many were having musculoskeletal issues like polio and other musculoskeletal issues. So in order to make the testing protocol simple and effective, I have grouped the disabilities or group of athletes into 4 major groups. One is, it is my sort of nomenclature. There is nothing like neuro group, but to make it simple and acceptable by all other sports science experts, I make it a neuro group where in the classification or in the selection of para athletes, 2 things are very important for us. Even for the testing protocol, 2 things are important. One is they should have eligible impairment. That is why they got inducted into para sports. They should have eligible impairments, and they should have eligible health condition from maybe from any other condition. That I have told the details. What are the health conditions that are mostly that are accepted by IPC. Suppose there may be some accident and post-traumatic joint stiffness develops, and that type of athlete will not be considered in the classification. So basically in the test, we have to see the impairment type and severity, and we have to test the impairment first, then the functional limitation. So that was my aim, and that is why I have divided into 4 groups. One is neuro group, ortho group. Ortho groups belongs to, covers impaired muscle power, impaired joint range of motion, short stature or DARF, leg length discrepancy. Okay, these are the 4 impairments. In spinal cord injury or wheelchair group, I have taken the impaired muscle power, impaired joint range of motion. Next, spinal cord injury athletes, they have paralysis from the spinal cord affected below that. So they have impaired muscle power basically. So these two groups are in wheelchair group. And another group is amputation group. Those who are amputated or since birth they don't have proper length of the limbs. There is a congenital deficiency. We call it dysmelia. Okay. So that we have considered in the amputation group. So what are the tests I have taken up as per the group I have suggested? So depending on the impairment or disability, I have to do all the test methods. So for posture, it is a postural assessment. For active and passive joint range of motion, you have to measure the joint range. For muscle strength, for very weak muscles, you have to do MMT, manual muscle testing, through MRC grading. And so for athletes, those having 3+ muscle strength, they should be tested with HSD, handheld dynamometry, okay, digital. And grip strength can be measured for the muscle strength. And for muscle strength assessment, we in the spastic group, in a neurological group, we can do spasticity grading. Similarly, for flexibility test, there should be shoulder reach test, passive SLR test, sit and reach test, back extension test. For coordination, those who are affected with neurological conditions, they have coordination problem, ataxia. So standing, single leg stand test, eye open, eye close, functional reach test for sitting athletes, and modified functional reach test for sitting athletes, and functional reach test for standing athletes. For lower limb tandem walk, for lower limb single leg triple hop test or crossover triple hop test. These are functional tests to know the coordination as well as the explosive strength of the legs. Then comes balance, stability or functional test, where for sitting and standing I have grouped them and divided the test as per the sitting or standing athlete. One is tennis ball throw for severely impaired athlete, another is medicine ball throw for standing athlete and sitting athlete. For skilled event like table tennis and other games, I have taken up alternate hand wall toss test. Medicine ball throw, I told those who are having good muscle power, they can do medicine ball throw. Standing broad jump and the standing broad jump with prosthesis, those who are having limb loss. Then length, breadth and measurements is for two categories basically. One is dwarf, short stature. Another is for amputation, okay, limb loss. Then you have to measure the length and the circumference. So here comes the actual test, actual category-wise test. This is a very difficult thing to explain at this stage because there are many classes or categories available in para sports. In para athletic itself, there are 59 sports classes, sports categories. So for all sports categories, it is very difficult to summarize the test here. But still, it is in detail. If you can find in my paper that is going to be published. But here I have correlated with the categories with para. PA matlab para athletics. Okay. So in para athletics, you can grade each category with the severity. Like suppose 31 is the highest category. In classification, lowest is the number, lower is the number, higher is the severity of impairment. So 31 is more severe than 32 or 33 or 35. I have compared it with para athletics, but it covers all the sports, para sports discipline. Any sports you take up, any athlete, they can be grouped in these categories and they can be tested with my suggested test. So severely impaired categories, spastic athletes, neurological group, spastic athletes with hypertonia, ataxia and athetosis, they have poor functional strength, grade 4 to 3 grade of spasticity, unable to walk, they require assistance. And for them, I have suggested these are the tests. Some of the tests are basic to all the categories like posture assessment. Then for them, you can do spasticity grading is there, spasticity grading test, and functional range of motion, whatever range of motion is available, because at the end you have to test the athlete they are going to perform with the available range and strength. So you have to see the functional active range of motion. But in orthopedic cases, I'll go to that, where you have to test the passive range of motion. Okay. So because if you do passively, there will be increase of spasticity. So you have to do active range of motion. Then coordination test, because they are highly spastic, so coordination is very much affected. So, and they are all sitting group. They cannot stand. They are all in sitting group. 31 to 34 category in athletics are in sitting group. They can do wheelchair running or they can do club throw. You may be knowing club throw. They cannot hold shot put or discus. They cannot hold and throw. They can do club throw or they can do cycling. Okay. So, so for them, they are sitting athletes. So in sitting position, they have to do functional reach test, and they have to bend forward, taking the control of the trunk. As far as possible, they should go in front as well as in the side. So the distance they cover from the neutral to the maximum is measured. So that will show the basic trunk control ability. So coordination test is for the trunk is there, and for limbs it is difficult. But for club throw, you can see the explosive strength, you can see the coordination. So club, you may be knowing, it's like a baseball bat, a small one, 250 grams. So they have to throw it. In these groups, they have severe spasticity. They cannot hold any shot put or discus. So they can hold with the 2 fingers the club and they can throw it. So the distance they throw should be measured. Then the functional muscle strength, they have a good amount of strength, but that the range is very much limited. So you have to do HST, handheld dynamometer you can do. This is to figure out how much basic strength they have. This is not the actual measurement of strength. You cannot measure the strength in spastic group because they have hypertonicity. The tone is very high. It will not give the optimal or actual strength. But you have to see the functional strength, how much they can lift up. Okay. That was sitting, and this was neurological group for standing athlete. Okay, those who can stand, these are the categories in athletics. They come from, they are belonging to 35 to 38. Class 35 to 38. 35 is more severe, 38 is less severe. Okay, they have equally have spasticity, but lower limb is much affected. So they can stand and they can run. They have good balance to some extent. So they will have different type of test in MSK. Okay, so in addition to the posture and the spasticity grading, everything I have told for the sitting athlete. In addition, you can have functional muscle strength, HST, I have told. This is for the upper limb. You have to be specific what you are doing. Suppose a sitting athlete is there is no need to test the lower limb. You have to test the upper limb. Similar, the standing athlete is there. If the athlete is not throwing anything, participating in running event, then you can do only the lower limb strength testing. So the functional muscle strength you have to measure. Coordination test, here they can stand and walk. They have good amount of balance. So tandem walk is one of the tests. Okay, so 10 steps they have to take in one line. So that test they can do. You have to do this functional test. And single leg hop test they can do. They can jump with a leg. Okay, right or left. Then they can hold the object and throw. They participate in discus shot put throw. Okay, so that is why medicine ball they can throw. So medicine ball throw is added. These are musculoskeletal test, functional test, and you can say fitness, sort of basic fitness test also. So in moderate categories, the spasticity grade is less, and the additional test we have included is triple hop test. Before it was a single leg hop test, it is now triple leg hop test. 3 times they have to hop in one leg, and the distance they cover, it should be measured. And for milder case, like 38 categories, it is diplegia or monoplegia, one limb may be affected. So they are having good functional status. So they can do crossover triple hop test. Okay, in a line they have to left, right, left. They have to cross over the line, and this is a good test for coordination and balance. They can do this test. Then comes musculoskeletal groups, mostly polio athletes. They have weak muscles, stiff joints, okay, impaired joint range of motion, stiff joints, contracture, okay. The mostly polio athletes maybe you may have seen. So here also I have compared with the related with the para athletics. These groups categories starting from 42 to 47. 42 to 44 is for lower limbs when it is affected, and 45 to 47 is for upper limbs. Okay. So for the lower limbs, there will be a different test, and you have to stress upon the lower limb MSK status. So, and here we have added the short stature dwarf athlete, because they have the similar musculoskeletal problem. They don't have any neurological problem. So from here, from this status, we have to do the test. Similarly, as neuro posture assessment, then range of motion assessment is very important for them, because the musculoskeletal is affected. Range of motion test with goniometry is essential. And for spinal joint, you can use spinal mouse, or you can use the posture grid. You can use that, how much angle, or inclinometer, bubble inclinometer you can use. Any scientific method you can use to measure the spinal range of motion. Then muscle power, as I said, up to grade 3 in MRC grading, 0 to 5, up to 3 you can do manual muscle testing, and after 3 you can do HSD, okay, dynamometer you can do. Grip strength you can do for weak muscles, you can do with digital dynamometry, okay, it's very soft and you can hold it. It's not the analog where you have to, the spring, you have to pull it. It's very easy, just hold it, the grip strength will be shown in the digital meter, okay. Then for balance, stability, functional test, you can do static testing as single leg stand, eye open, eye closed. Dynamic, they can run, 42 category, they are the runner, okay, they can run, they can jump. So triple hop test, in one go you can test the coordination and explosive strength of the legs. So triple leg coordination, triple leg hop test you can do. Upper limb is very good, they can throw the ball, so medicine ball throw you can do. And standing broad jump, it can be added for knowing the explosive strength of the limbs. Okay, these are for the lower limbs. And for the upper limbs, you have 45 to 47. Only additional test, medicine ball throw and crossover triple hop jump. Then spinal cord injury, sitting athlete, you may be seeing the spinal cord injury, wheelchair athletes. They are grouped in different sports classes. They are in para athletics from 51 to 57. 51 to 57. 51 to 54, they cannot pick up the discus or shot put. They throw the again club. They throw the club. Okay, they cannot hold the discus or shot put. 51 to 54. 55 to 57, they can hold properly the discus or shot put. So likewise, the tests are devised mostly in same line, similar line as I have told for the weak muscles in musculoskeletal group. The impairment is same in spinal cord injury is the muscle weakness. Then comes the amputation group. Okay, amputation group, we have a category for runner is 61 to 64, blade runners, we have seen blade runners 61 to 64, and otherwise it can be comparable to 42 to 44 from musculoskeletal group. The impairment is almost the same, like there may be some joint range issue or muscle strength issues, okay, but you can do all the tests, whatever I have said. Additional is the stump length, stump breadth, because you have to measure to find out whether it is well fitting to the prosthesis or not, whether there is any chance of injury, how is the muscle strength in the remaining body part, amputated body part, that we have to cover. So these are the tests I have summarized with some pictures that we did in our center. These are the tests, basically HST, and this is the last one, upper one is for the range, and others are for the strength. You can measure the trunks, lumbar flexion, trunk flexion and extension also. These are the detailed test procedure for physios and other sports science experts. Those who want to use the test, they can get it in detail. 21 tests are there, so difficult to summarize. Every test is supported by some literature available. Okay, so after the test and the retest is done, I have compared the correlation coefficient, Pearson correlation coefficient. Many of the tests that were retested, they were having higher correlation, above 5, above 9 in fact, and one except MMT, manual muscle testing, because it varies with the examiner. You are doing it manually, so it will vary. So the retest was 0.504. So while discussing the thing, you can understand that the test methods are developed as per the impairment, as per the sports categories or sports classes we say. Okay, very specific to the sports classes, and this will help. And these are retest methods. We have been following this, employing this since last 3 years around. But I am writing on this subject now because it's the need of the hour. And with this test, the coach can give proper high performance training to the athlete, because he will get to know that which muscle is active, in what range, what can we extract. Because many of the times what we see in our center, even the coaches, they don't have proper understanding of the musculoskeletal status. For a neuro condition spastic athlete, they train with the gym apparatus and they build up the muscles, but they don't get the good performance from the muscle, because the muscle length is already shortened with hypertonia. Again, you are training with heavy load, the tone will increase, the length will decrease, and you will not have enough muscle length and you will not have enough muscle force to that can be produced. So the coach should understand what the physio is saying, in what way we can train them, whether everybody is fit for going gym and doing heavy training or not. There are weak muscles that can be damaged. There are weak muscles that can be properly trained to increase the strength. If you increase the strength much more, then the category may also change. Suppose for a 42 category para athletics, they have weak hip muscles, hip flexors. Suppose you train only hip flexors more times, then the strength improves and the category may change. That may go to again 43 or 44. So it depends. The coach should have proper knowledge, and the physio with the test can give proper insight to the coach, and the physio or the expert who is doing can give proper insight to other sports scientists, because you may be knowing those who are scientists. For physiology, how will you do the VO2 max for a wheelchair athlete? How will you do the explosive strength measurements? How will you do the flexibility even? Whether all are, suppose there is an upper limb amputation athlete is there. How will you do the shoulder reach test? So there are many things. This test, test that is formulated will give insight to the coaches and to the scientists in general. So this is the recommendation I suggested. What I said is summarized here, and the conclusion is that the findings is giving some valid and cost-effective musculoskeletal testing protocol that can be useful for para sports athletes, and this is impairment specific. There is not much research done in this subject, so definitely the community, the sports science community who are doing involved in this type of testing and measurements, they should employ this, adopt this, and they should develop it further also. And the second point, I have done many research need to be done. In para sports, many research need to be done, because it is not much done till now. Thank you. Any question you can ask?
Thank you, Chotu sir, for a very comprehensive presentation. Do we have any questions for sir?
So was this study able to, kind of extract a particular MSK testing which could help us, all over India for our para athletes, particular testing protocol which could be advised on all athletes, para athletes around India?
This is the test protocol for all athletes, all para athletes across all sports and events, because all the sports and events under IPC, under Paralympic International Paralympic Committee covers these 10 impairments, and 8 impairments except visual and intellectual. All physical impairments I have covered. So all the sports classes, all the impairments are covered.
Can we standardize it even more by further studies?
Yeah. The science is open for everybody, like anybody can do research. But after 3 years of doing studies on athletes, every year we have to do 2 times mandatory testing on athletes in SCI. So we have employed certain tests, we have excluded certain tests because that was not feasible or practical, or maybe not that much of correct values. So we came to the conclusion this is the test that can be developed as a protocol for all athletes, that I am going to publish it.
Hello, sir. Sir, you have just said that if we are doing so much of strength training, then the para-athletes may transfer to the other categories. But sir, how it is possible? Like if we talk about the VL3 or VL2 in kayaking or canoeing in KL3, so they are wheelchair athlete. If they do the upper body strength training, how they will affect their lower limbs? Because all the categories related to the kayaking and canoeing related to the lower body disabilities. So if they don't train on their upper body related to the strength, how they're going to perform at the international level?
I have given example of certain categories, not all categories. Okay, certain categories like 42 or any category where musculoskeletal, especially in the musculoskeletal group as well as in neuro group. Suppose in amputation group, what is going to happen? Nothing is going to change, okay, even though you train much. But for spastic group, if you train, the muscle strength improves and the spasticity grade may decrease, so the category will change. In ortho group, suppose there is polio and muscle weakness is there. On the basis, I said the example, on the basis of hip muscle weakness, 42 categories given. Then 43 is below knee and 44 is ankle level, okay, 44. So if in a 42 category athlete trained much about on the hip flexors and the muscle strength improves, when we do classification, he is able to lift up the leg and he is able to use the hip flexors, it is 3+. So definitely we are not going to give the 42 class. The class will change. Again, for another class, again re-examination, whether 43 is suitable or not, or even 44, the class changes. And last time also in Olympics, things had happened. Vinod Kumar is happening. Even in spinal cord injury cases also it happens.
Hello, sir. So what would you say about the core testing for para-athletes when you tested?
There are 2 things. This is the basic musculoskeletal testing where the physio can do. Okay, next time I'm coming up with strength and conditioning testing, where there the core explosive power, core muscle strength, and everything that which are the categories that can be that we can do the testing protocol that I'm going to come up with.
So in this test, core test was not
core test. There is core test for certain athletes it can be, certain athletes it can be. Spinal cord injury it is not possible. Okay, neuro it is not possible because they cannot hold it properly. Okay, there was a static hold test was there, but we removed it because many of the athletes could not complete it, even though they are indicated, they could not do it properly. So that is why we didn't. But in musculoskeletal group we can add up certainly. That is my plan.
Yes.
To add another set of test that is little higher than this is called fitness test or strength and conditioning test that I am going to come up with. Which are the categories and what are the fitness tests that can be employable that we are going to come up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. Gaurav Singh Kushwaha, Dean Research and Publication, sir, to felicitate Dr. G.B. Shetty with a certificate as a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much. A special thanks to our speakers and panelists for their expert insights.